Fuck Donald Trump, fuck Elon Musk, fuck Jeff Bezos, fuck Mark Zuckerberg. It takes a pathological mind to have billions of dollars and say, we need more, we need more. What the fuck do you need more for? When people are fucking struggling, and all the while they're saying, oh, we're gonna be so fucking rich. But that's not even the worst of it. They're fucking wrapping up people, they're pushing them across borders for no fucking reason, no just cause, no due process. The fucking rule of law today was usurped yet again by these fucking fascists. I'm so sick of this shit, man. Fuck these motherfuckers. And I see this shit here, and in LA, with those fires, and the fucking homes were destroyed. What do these billionaire class bastards do? They came in, they bought all the fucking homes, and then they turn around, they resell them for quadruple the price, or better yet, they fucking rent it out for 16 times the price. This shit is not normal, and they're always trying to normalize this shit. They are trying to take away human rights. It is no longer Republican, Democrat, any of that shit has gone out the fucking window. This is all about usurpation of control and a fucking billionaire bastard class taking control and stealing everything from you, robbing you fucking blind. And we have to stop that shit right fucking now. Not later, not down the road, right fucking now it happens. So, all this rhetoric you see constantly in the fucking news, they're trying to convince you that this stuff is acceptable. It's all normal, it's all okay. It's not okay, we're gonna stop it. But maybe it's just, as they say, a sign of the time. All of the shit that is going wrong in this country is a couple of things. There is the outright racism and xenophobia that makes up half of it. And the other half that ties into that is colonialism and empire. But the thing that perpetuates all of it is the goddamn military-industrial complex, the business of warfare. And I fucking served that goddamn thing for years. I was in the final combat deployment as an infantry officer, a former infantry soldier myself in Afghanistan. And I saw the reality of that goddamn war, and it was the same as every other fucking war that this country has fought for so many years, is that it was a perpetual business. The people that were fighting that war were entrenched fighting young men and women who were more like them than these goddamn politicians or the Taliban madrasas sending them to go fucking die for bullshit. But the reality of that is simple. It is business. It is money. And it will continue until we fucking cull that entire goddamn thing from our way of life. And that's radical change. We can no longer rely on the Democratic Party to save us. We have to start new shit. We have to start filling the fucking streets. Because the reality of that war and all these other wars will continue in other ways. And then they're going to send you and your fucking kids to go fight, kill, and die for nothing again. For fucking nothing. So I always dedicate this song to the people who suffered the most in that war and every other fucking war ever.
Free Palestine!
That's women, free fucking Palestine, goddamn right. So this song is dedicated to the women, femme-presenting people, and children. They are the ones that suffer the most in every fucking war, whether it's Palestine, whether it's Myanmar, or Congo, or any other place where old men can't fucking figure out how to talk to each other, so they send the young to die.
to myself, in the end, I'm genuine, I'm truly lost. Can't hold it in, no holding back. Fall off the bus, jump to the sky, release the past. Why don't you mind?
San Diego.
We're really excited to be here. Our name is Treasvre. We're from San Francisco. We are joining Vision Video on the road, and we are really excited to be playing with them again. And we got another cool band tonight called Creux Lies. We'll be playing a couple shows with them. Really excited to share the stage with these awesome bands. But you already know what I'm talking about. Okay, so that last song was new. There's a bunch of cool remixes for it by artists you may know and or love already. And you can find it on streaming, and Treasvre is our name. So just look that up. You'll find us. Another good way to support is buy some merch. We have some cool handcrafted wares for you.
But just come say hey, give us a high five, like say what's up, and a lot of our stuff is homemade too. Like I do a lot of the drawings and stuff. We feel like we're a very creative force together as a band. Art and music all roll into one thing, so sick as fuck. Thank you guys for supporting. And as being as such, because we're all talented motherfuckers, I'm gonna steal the spotlight here for a minute and sing a couple songs. Anyways, this next one is called In My Arms.
this one is all about. It's called Normalize. was fucking disenfranchised. You know, I felt betrayed by something that I gave my 20s to, and you know, kind of not that I believed in the war or whatever, but like I saw the reality of it, and I was like, fuck this, man. I want to do something totally different. So I became a firefighter in Atlanta, and I loved that job. Like that was the best thing I ever did with my life, because all you do is fucking help people. That's it. And it was great. But when you're in that job, like I was a fire medic, so I was on the ambulance a lot, and I saw a lot of people die. And when you're in that environment, it affects your brain. It changes the way you look at the world, because even like the most adjusted people, I mean, I don't need to tell the room full of people wearing black shit, you're going to die one day, but we're going to die. And when you see it happen, you see this like, what's the point kind of nihilism, and that's not good. It's not good for you. So when I was writing this song, I was thinking about rewiring my brain of that segment, thinking it's great that we're finite, because it makes everything we do special. It makes every Monday night fucking rock and roll show good. So this is all about appreciating the time that you are afforded by the universe, because we're not guaranteed anything. It's called a beautiful day to die.
Yeah! This is the best Monday ever!
punk and goth music. I grew up in a very small rural town in Georgia, and this shit saved my life when I was a kid. Back in the day, before the internet, so we had forum boards like that, you know, before like social media, we had forum boards, or you had a guy at a record store that would teach you like what the next band was. He'd be like, oh, you like Bauhaus? Here's Tones on Tail. And it was like crushes and that. But back in the day, we really gatekept the shit out of this stuff, like way worse than we do now. Because now you just go on the internet, like a goth band, cool, done. So we're gonna do a cover of my gatekeep band from back in the day. I want you to genuinely answer this question. Are there any fans of the Comstat Angels? Just like one guy every time. Yes! And it's always some dude. I love it. This is a band from the 80s from Sheffield, England. And this is a love song, and that's really particularly appeals to me right now because I'm getting married this year. So this one is called You Moved Me by the Comstat Angels. And this one's for my fiancée, Scarlett. Y'all are wild. I was like, what the fuck? I woke up in LA and I was like, God damn it, earthquake. So thank you for being here. Thank you so fucking much. Here's the deal. We're gonna do one more and we're gonna sing the fucking chorus together because it's Monday night and we all made it through the earthquake. So here are the words to the chorus. It's very simple. I can feel your knife in my back. I can feel your knife in my side. You will figure out the melody. It is incredibly simple. Oh, one more thing. Give it up for Ryan Houchins on the fucking drums. Alright, cheerio. Are you ready? Posted, are you fucking ready? Yes, here we go. Let's do it.
Can you kindly introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, my name is Dusty Gannon. I am the lead singer and guitarist of the band Vision Video, but you also might know me as your dear old goth dad from, like, the internet, I guess. Yeah, hi!
So, can you tell me how you first got into your band and you're talking about your time as a firefighter and everything like that. So I just kind of like know more about your journey and how you got into your band.
So yeah, I mean, I guess like really the concept that would become Vision Video started for me when I was like still in the military, and I was in active duty. I was a infantry officer, and when I was in Afghanistan, I started like really picking up guitar again in my like little bits of free time that I had during that deployment. I started writing some small songs and just little pieces and like lyrics or whatever. And then when I got out in 2016, I moved back to Athens, which is like kind of where I'm generally from. I became a firefighter during that time and a paramedic. And that's when the band started to form, because I was also bartending at this music venue in Athens called the Georgia Theater. And our original drummer, Jason, just invited me over because he plays in a really great punk band called Sheehy. And he was like, "Hey, come over. I saw some of the stuff you've been putting on, like, the internet, just like little clips." And he's like, "I'd love to play some drums behind that." And that's kind of the initial part of it. And like, people have kind of come and gone. I'm actually the only original member now, which is crazy. But bands change, and we've had this crazy journey over the last really, I guess since 2017, the last several years of making music, and it got to a point where I could do this kind of full time, and ever since 2022, I've been doing this. This is like my job, which is wild to say, and it's really cool because I get to travel and make music about things that I believe matter, which is wonderful.
What's your favorite thing about traveling as a musician?
Well, just traveling in general, I think it's cool to like find interesting small places that you didn't know about, and that just like kind of, I don't know, like there's so many small, beautiful, wonderful things that you find out traveling that like make me continuously kind of fall in love with the world, and like excite me about being a person and like talking to people and meeting really cool people all the time is a really fun thing. I'm kind of a homebody at home. Like my fiance and I, we like stay home a lot, and I go out a little bit, but I tend to stay home. So it's really nice to like get out there, and it like forces me to be social and to connect, and I like doing that because I think that's like the whole point of music, is to make connections and like talk about things that you believe in, and make art and to connect through that art. Yeah, and that's cool.
That's something I definitely agree on. That's why I kind of like do these things to kind of connect with people. And since I'm also like kind of a homebody and soft-spoken, and
it's great. It's awesome. Yeah, I think it's cool when we do things that like challenge our sentiments, and our preconceived notions or our comfort zones even. I think it's good to like try to push yourself, to challenge yourself. Yeah, it's awesome.
Sure. So with all the concerts that you have opened for and venues, what has been your most memorable experience?
Oh yeah, I think the last tour we went on, because we got to open for like my favorite band of all time, which is the Chameleons. And the last show we played on that tour, we opened for them in the UK and in Ireland. And on the last show, it was in their hometown of Manchester. And Vox, the lead singer of the Chameleons, came up to me before that day when we were traveling, and he was like, "Dusty, do you want to sing a song with us?" And I was like, "Yes, of course I do." So I sang my favorite Chameleon song, which is Monkeyland, with them in a sold-out show in Manchester at this like amazing music venue called Albert Hall. And it's this very old music hall, and it was like 2,000 people, and the energy was just wild. It was like one of those moments where you're like, man, I'm gonna remember this like for the rest of my life. Like, and it was so cool because when it was happening, I was trying to not think about it too much. I was just like, just enjoy this, like just be in the moment. But I kept being like, this is so cool. Try not to like lose it, like just keeping my composure. But it was it's awesome, and there's actually some cool footage of it like on YouTube and stuff like that.
Nice.
It's really fun to watch. So I get to relive it, which is cool.
It's the best part about having footage saved for memories.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, totally.
What has been your most favorite, like within the several albums and EPs that you guys put out? What has been your favorite song that you've put out?
Oh man, that's a tough one.
Or one that you like relate to the most, like,
yeah.
that you have written?
I think like for me, the most important song that I've written so far is "Stay," just because like it's a reminder to myself. You know, I think like all music that I write, at least it's kind of for me first. You know, not to be like selfish about it, but I write a lot of music that helps me get through tough times. But my biggest desire outside of like kind of getting through that, like getting catharsis out of it, is that it helps other people and that other people can relate. Because I think a lot of us grow up like listening to music and you hear that one song and you're like, it just helps through really tough times, or it just like reminds you that, you know, there are people that know what it's like. You know, it's like that commiserate experience. And yeah, it's a kind of a hard song to play because it really like hits a raw emotional place that's tough sometimes. Not every night, but like, you know, sometimes it's harder than others. And sometimes I'm like you don't even like, it's painful, you know, and you don't want to necessarily play it every night, if that makes sense. But and then after every show, they're like, people come up and they're like, hey, that song, I think that song more than any other song, people are like, thank you so much for that song. And yeah, that just means like so much to me, because that's like the whole point of it to me.
So I was like, as you were talking about on stage about more like your political stance, like,
Yeah.
and which I think is actually one of the very first shows that I've seen someone actually express like how they feel about their side in politics.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like what I said on stage, though. I don't really try to view it as, you know, like, oh, you should believe this. Like, this is the political party. This is the answer. This is the thing. It's more human rights. It's more like what we need to avoid, what we need to be aware of, and what is dangerous for the progress of people. Because, you know, I look at history. I have a degree in religious history, but it's basically a history degree. So I always look at history to guide my way forward and what we should do. And, you know, we look at things that are happening around us, and, you know, things like the military, things like the military-industrial complex, things like billionaire ruling classes that are taking advantage of people. Like, those are things that are things that I've seen, but I also know a lot about because of knowledge of history. And I think that the music I write is very intrinsically tied to those, to being against those things and against these, like, what I perceive to be very almost essentially evil things in our world that we need to actually combat, to move forward and to move to a more equitable, peaceful, sustainable world, instead of just like looking back and being like, oh, we need to go back to the way things were. Actually, one of my favorite professors in college, when I went through that course, was he said, he was a history professor. He said this amazing thing, and I'll never forget. He said, every single time that civilizations look backwards and want to go back to the way things were, it has never worked, because culture changes, civilizations change, and people are always kind of moving forward and evolving, both, you know, literally and but moreover socially. And you just can't go back to the way things are. And when people, like, you know, sort of what's the term? When people fantasize and glorify the past,
right,
it's often a unrealistic version that never actually existed, or existed for a very select few people. And in America, it's usually a very like white supremacist view, or like, you know, like very malignant view that is taking advantage of people that are impoverished, or, you know, things like that. So anyway, I think the music and the message and what I'm trying to get across is like very much so tied to like political opinions. And so at a live show, it's very important for me to like remind people of that and to explain it thoroughly. So.
Right, which I think you did a really good job explaining, and everyone's
Thank
very
you.
forward. From your point of view, like your experience, like throughout life, what would you have liked to see change, like not just in America, but just like the
Yeah.
country in general?
I mean, I really want like the world to become more focused on ecological circumstances and what we can do collectively to make that better and some more sustainable. You know, taking care of animals, taking care of the climate crisis, like, but you know, also just like economic equity. You know, like we shouldn't have billionaires should not exist. Like nobody, when anybody is starving, or even just struggling to make ends meet, or struggling to afford a roof over their head, or fuel to get to work, or medical care, like there should not be billionaires. Like that's just such a repugnant concept to me, that anybody would be that wealthy and say I need more, and sort of perpetuate systems that do that. So yeah, I mean, I think overall, like in all regards, I want a more equitable and sustainable world. Yeah.
At some point we'll get there.
Yeah, I think we will. We gotta do some fighting. You know,
Yeah, a lot of it.
Figuratively and maybe literally, and we'll get there. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, as long as it doesn't like cause any violence or any type of harm to anybody.
Yeah.
I definitely think more people should be more open-minded and
Right.
not be so defensive against each other, and
Yeah.
should just try to understand everyone's side.
Right. For sure.
It's not really healthy.
Yeah. Well, we have to keep hope, you know, because
Yeah.
I think ultimately hope is the most important aspect of pushing forward for progress. If we lose hope, then we will never make change. But if we always have something to look forward to and to hope for, then they can't take that away from you. Ultimately, like if you keep it alive. So, yeah.
Any future plans for like your band, like regarding music or any merch or?
Yeah, we're working on new music like right now. I've been writing a whole bunch of new songs actually, and those are going to start coming out like sometime this year, just as singles. But we don't have really plans for like a full-length record. We're just kind of working on individual tracks and having fun with it, and you know, just enjoying the process of writing. I'm sure there eventually will be like another record that comes out maybe next year or the year after. But yeah, we're just gonna slowly put out singles throughout the year, and yeah, I think it's going to be really fun because they're very different. I mean, they're kind of they're still in the realm of goth and post-punk music, but they're a lot more aggressive, and it's just a lot more like piss and vinegar, because that's like the vibe lately for me. But I'm excited. They're way more energetic, and it's more rock and roll, you know, which is cool.
I know the singer from The Cure, like he doesn't consider his band goth. So what is your thought on like the whole, like how certain bands don't consider themselves like under that type of label?
Yeah, I don't necessarily think it really matters, you know, like it's a subculture that exists for the musical influence, but I grew up in that scene, so I don't mind like referencing it and calling it goth music, but that's such an umbrella term to me.
Yeah.
It doesn't really define everything, and it's more important to pay honor to the scene, but not be worried about these like tactile definitions. Yeah, I think I'm being beckoned to.
Oh, okay.
I think we have to go.
Okay.